This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerate it. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
I will eat your ass.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation, everybody, welcome to the show. It's Wednesday. Boy, we've got an interesting show today. A couple of things here. We got Rudy Giuliani in the news. You might have heard, might have seen, possibly. We also have a really strange admission from Pat Robertson. We're going to talk about, of course, the major settlement from Purdue Pharma in the case of OxyContin. And then, of course, Mitch McConnell is caught sabotaging the COVID relief. So we're going to talk about that. A lot of interesting stuff today. A lot of interesting stuff also that happened yesterday. So as you guys know, AOC basically shattered records on Twitch. So now we're on Twitch. By the way, great news for us. We're an affiliate on Twitch now. So I just made affiliate, which means that, of course, you can sign up. You can now subscribe to the channel on Twitch. That helps us out. You can use your Amazon Prime link or account. You can tie that in with Twitch, and you can use that to sub to the channel. Had to think for a second how it works. That's one way that you can, of course, help the show by becoming a subscriber on our Twitch channel. That helps us out. And so, yeah, we'll be making some extra revenue from that, which, again, always goes to help the show. We're also, able to run ads on Facebook now, and also to get subscriptions or whatever support through Facebook. And so, yeah, a lot of good news for the show, a lot of different ways to help us out. So if you can do that, you'll definitely be helping independent progressive media continue to stay on the air. What is Twitch? Twitch is wonderful. That's what it is. So I love all my Twitch viewers there. And of course, most love comes to YouTube, obviously, because I've been on YouTube for so many years. Let's see. AOC. So I want to talk about her for a minute because what she did is that she did a live stream and she played a very popular game, a game that I'm not good at. So this game is Among Us. So I'm not going to go into explain what it is. All I know is that you have to be deceptive and you're basically going around, if you're an imposter, going around and sabotaging people. And I am not that kind of person. I can't lie very well. And so, nonetheless, she was playing with Hassan and some other very prolific streamers. on that platform and ended up getting, at least at some point, 700,000 live viewers. So that is just mind-blowing. And it was basically an event in order to get out the vote. And so that's kind of awesome. I mean, it really is. Ilhan Omar was there, by the way. I can't forget about Ilhan. She, of course, is awesome. And so her, AOC, Ilhan Omar, all playing Among Us, trying to get out the vote, trying to get people involved. It's really, it's kind of amazing. So Twitch is kind of a big deal. It is an important platform. And so, do you know boomers will hate her now playing video games? Oh, you mean like Michael Tracy? Who had like this, I don't know, meltdown? Look, I know. Michael Tracy apparently hates anybody who watches other adults play video games. Thinks that people like that, adults who do that, are a blight on society. So, thank you, Adrian Levy. Thank you for subscribing. First subscriber on Twitch. So that is kind of effing awesome. So I really appreciate that. That's how you can support the channel. Well, look at that. I'm already getting subs on Twitch. That's awesome. All right. Ilhan has a nice gaming PC too. I know, I saw that. She's got some pretty good specs. Tracy and Rogan are boomers. Boomers in mentality. Let me tell you that. Because I think I might be older than Michael Tracy. I'm not confirmed. The guy's got to be in like his mid-30s, right? I'm 37. I might be older than Michael Tracy, and this guy has super boomer mentality. Like, I hate people who play and watch video games. I'd rather waterboard myself. Shut up. Like, okay, like, do that, whatever. Michael Tracy is a blight on society. Yes, all right, enough shit talking. I should probably get to the news. Yeah, a lot of people have gotten super weird on COVID lockdown. By the way, tomorrow, unrelated to anything that we were just talking about, but I will not be here tomorrow, unfortunately. I've got some stuff I need to take care of, but I will be here on Friday, so we'll have a show. I might do a stream later on Thursday. I'm not entirely sure. But we'll, a video gaming stream maybe later on Thursday night. If you guys want to see that, that'll be on Twitch and YouTube. So we'll do gaming stuff there. And so, yeah, we might do that. If not, I'm going to try to do something maybe on Friday or the weekend gaming. So don't worry. I'm going to try to continue to do more streams, gaming streams, especially on weekends. So Trashy plays with the question here. Is sports not just a video game with real people? Sports, I don't know anything about sports. Sports ball. I'm like the wrong person to ask about sports. Let's see. More stuff here. I'm 71 and Tracy does not have a boomer mentality. He has something else. I mean, the reason I call it boomer mentality is just because, like, it's just that it's that mentality of, I hate change, and I hate anything that people like. It's one of those things. You realize that Donald Trump can't run for more than 2 terms. Yeah, like, that's ridiculous. Unless he wants to, go against constitutional norms, which then, if you're a constitutional conservative, you're saying you don't actually believe in it. Oh. Okay, anyway. Progressive boomer here. Yeah. Look, there's a lot of great progressives who are older people, so. Hey, Ashlyn, thank you for being a subscriber. That's awesome. Okay. Should I start a feud with the YouTube persona? No feuds. No feuds. I am going to make fun of Michael Tracy, though. Just saying. All right, let's get to the news. Let's talk about how Mitch McConnell sucks. World's worst lawyer. Indeed. Okay.
No, it doesn't. But it does address an awful lot of things that we do agree on. And I don't think the fact that those checks are not a part of this package, as others have said, is a good argument for not doing what we are laying on the floor.
So that was Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell answering a question about stimulus. And basically, in that answer, giving a middle finger to the American people. So now, basically, he was asked, hey, is there going to be stimulus for the American people in this stimulus bill that you are negotiating with Nancy Pelosi that you want to push? Now, Pelosi actually does want some stimulus measures for the American people, including those $1,200 checks, to be part of the next stimulus package. Unfortunately, not going to happen. Mitch McConnell saying, no, we're not going to put that in there. I'm not putting that in there. And so he is signaling, of course, that the only thing that Democrats and Republicans can agree on is more relief for corporations. Awesome. Now, if you didn't think that ignoring the pain of everyday Americans who are struggling wasn't bad enough, well, apparently he has been behind the scenes sabotaging any attempts at a stimulus deal altogether. According to Common Dreams, written by James Johnson, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell told Republican colleagues on Tuesday that he has been privately urging the Trump White House not to strike a coronavirus relief deal with the House Speaker before the November 3rd election. So he's telling the White House, don't do a deal. Don't do a deal. Whatever you do, don't actually do a deal with Nancy Pelosi, because I'm assuming that he's saying, well, we're going to shut it down. We're just going to shut down that deal because we don't actually give a damn about the American people. So now why in the world, if you're facing a difficult election, which, let's be fair, Mitch McConnell is not. Mitch McConnell is going to crush Amy McGrath. We knew that already. Amy McGrath is a disaster. She's one of those corporate Democrats. And so she's going to get crushed. She's polling very, very badly in Kentucky. So he's not in danger, but the Senate majority kind of is. Because there are some pretty competitive races that are going on, including, of course, Lindsey Graham, who could get replaced by Jamie Harrison. So who knows, right? As far as polling, of course, Donald Trump, I think it's very, very possible that Donald Trump loses this election, again, because of mostly COVID. I mean, if you want to say that anything is responsible for Donald Trump possibly losing the election, if he indeed does lose, it would be his response to coronavirus, as well as the Republican response to coronavirus, which could cost them the Senate. And so now, why would you block that if you actually want to win? Well, he said that in a warning to his colleagues that any agreement might interfere with the chamber's plan to confirm to Russia confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court early next week. Oh, right. So they're like, forget coronavirus stimulus. Don't care. Don't give a goddamn about the American people. No, what we want to do is we want to rush through our Supreme Court nominee before we don't have a chance to do so. So, of course, that means decades of having a supermajority on the Supreme Court for conservatives. And so, yeah, it makes sense that they're going to leverage their power now in order to keep power for literally decades in the court. When it comes especially to their power, of course, Mitch McConnell's power, comparative to the needs of the American people, Mitch McConnell is going to choose power every single time. We know that. Again, even if it costs them the Senate the short term, understand that Mitch McConnell and the Republicans are actually long-term thinkers. This is where they kick our ass. And I'm totally honest about that. They are kicking our ass, and it's because they actually have long-term plans in order to do so. So now, the reason that they can sit there and think up these long-term plans is because they don't actually have any plans to do anything. Their entire platform is, and this is what they are, they're a vessel in order to just cut taxes for rich people. That's all the Republican Party exists to do. Give rich people more money. That's what they're about. If you think Republicans, oh, no, we're the party of freedom and liberty and blah, blah, blah. No, they're not. They're about cutting taxes for rich people. That's their entire existence. Anyway, and of course, look, how Amy Coney Barrett is going to help with that. Well, I mean, look at Obamacare. Obamacare, the main reason that Republicans don't like it, because it's their own goddamn plan that came from Mitt Romney, is the fact that it did raise taxes on the wealthiest Americans in order to pay for this stuff, in order to pay for some of the subsidies, in order to help people be able to afford insurance through the ACA. That's it. And of course, Obama. You got to add that in there. But I think that's more of a red meat reason. But anyway, again, as far as McConnell's concerned, yes, we'll take a short-term loss in order to get a long-term victory, which is having a supermajority in the Supreme Court. And so he's got that political calculus all laid out. They rush Amy Coney Barrett. They lose 2020. But of course, the next time the senators are up for re-election, they can retake the Senate after doing nonstop obstruction for the next 4 to 6 years. And that's what it is. I mean, we've already done this before. That's exactly what happened back in 2014, or in the lead up to 2014, the midterms, where Democrats got crushed and ended up losing the Senate to Mitch McConnell in the first place. And so understand that this is a setup to having basically crushing austerity, even if Joe Biden wins, because if we have crushing austerity, well, they still win because, again, they deny the Biden administration even very modest victories, both in the Supreme Court and in Congress as well. And so then they can make the argument, well, look at how ineffectual the Democrats are. They can't get anything passed. Yeah, because it's your fucking fault. Doesn't matter. They've got that messaging machine all laid out to try to get, voters who are low information voters to vote for Republicans because, well, I mean, I got to have something to change, right? And we're not getting anything done with the Democrats. And so I guess we'll try with Republicans. It's the same cycle that happens every couple of elections. It swings back and forth just like this. So understand that that's absolutely part of the political calculus here. And it's what they did to Obama. And they stonewalled him from doing anything. And it's exactly what they're going to do to Joe Biden. Obstruction, understand, is their biggest tool. So what does this mean for you? It means don't expect a relief package before the election or anything really even afterwards, unless there's a gigantic win in both the Senate and the presidency and Democrats keep the House. It's got to be a complete political wipeout for there to be any sort of relief. And Democrats also have to be, bold enough, and good luck with that, in order to overcome any sort of Republican opposition in the Senate in order to pass something. So, again, don't expect any help, which of course is going to be disastrous for the economy. It's going to be disastrous for regular people. Again, we've had months and months and months of no COVID relief. Democrats passed a bill back in May. The Republicans sat on it since, 6-7 months at least, and then finally pushed out a couple of super awful bills, which ensured liability protection for corporations, some money for the Paycheck Protection Program, which we find out even ended up going to defense contractors in order to build jet engine parts, and just all this ridiculous stuff, and didn't really actually go to small businesses. It went to very, very large corporations who were able to game the system. And so that's the problem, okay? But it also did give a little bit of money to unemployment, but of course, not enough. But let's be honest, Republicans, we know, don't want any more additional spending. They just don't. Most Republicans in Congress say, no. In the Senate especially, say, we're not going to do any more spending. The hell with that. Helping the American people. We don't want to help the American people. We want to help our corporate donors. And that's it. And again, many people have pointed out McConnell is laying the groundwork to force crippling austerity under a Biden administration. This is Pramila Jayapal, co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Here's what she said. She's a House member, by the way. Quote, let's be very clear about this. Mitch McConnell and Republicans are continuing to block essential relief to Americans across our country. If Trump wants to go big or go home, he better see if he can control his own party. Donald Trump, look, he's not going to control anything. Okay, Donald Trump is 100% ineffectual. He knows that he is losing. And interestingly enough, that's actually why he wants a deal with Nancy Pelosi in the first place. I mean, originally he said, no, we're not going to have a deal until after the election. And then he's like, oh, my God, my polls are terrible. Okay, Nancy Pelosi, let's do a coronavirus deal. Let's go really big. I want to send even more money to the people. We want bigger checks. Republicans say, absolutely not. We are not going to do that. But again, the reason that Donald Trump wants this is because he's broke. He's broke, and once he loses power, those bills are going to come due. And not only that, look, he's got all of these investigations into him. He's got unpaid legal bills that he's going to have to pay. And so he wants to stay in power very, very badly. And he thinks that sending a check with his name on it is going to help him in that capacity. I don't think so, even though I'm not opposed to him sending out another check. Of course. Look, but those $1,200 checks, by the way, which is what we would likely have gotten, even if Republicans would agree to a deal, it's not enough to offset the economic pain that most people are actually feeling. Even before COVID-19, 40% of Americans couldn't afford a $400 emergency. It's even worse now. You've got layoffs that are at their highest level since August. You have hunger on the rise. In fact, according to data from the Census Bureau, about 22 million Americans reported that their households struggled to afford enough food last month in September. You've got the Trump administration allowing for evictions to go forward. You also have the Trump administration trying to kick 700,000 Americans off of their food stamp benefits by putting in work requirements. The administration doesn't care about regular people. They just don't. They don't care about working people. They don't care about people who are unemployed as a result of coronavirus. They don't care. And they also don't care, by the way, if you get sick from coronavirus and die or end up with long-lasting, permanent damage to your organs, which also is a result of coronavirus. And so it's a disaster. David Dayen of the American Prospect also put out this warning. He said, quote, whatever savings low-income Americans have managed to build up with the CARES Act relief will be gone before any other help arrives, and another pandemic surge deeply complicates matters. Well, we're already seeing that surge all over the country. We're already seeing cases tick up in many different states, and of course, we're seeing hospitals starting to get overloaded, and we're starting to see all this negative stuff that is happening that, by the way, Fauci and the other officials in the coronavirus task force were warning us about. It is happening, and it's an absolute disaster. Dayen continues by saying many of the few still extant relief supports expire by the end of the year. It's disgusting to now have a man-made depression on top of the pandemic-made one. And he's absolutely correct about that. This has become a man-made humanitarian disaster. And I don't just mean in aid, okay? Most other countries, they provided a UBI, $2,000 a month, or some sort of paycheck guarantee that's equal to about the same amount to every adult since the pandemic started. Many of these other countries also have universal health care, child care, services to help families. In America, what do we get? Some temporary unemployment benefits and a $1,200 check. That's it. That's it. Now, it's a great example of what happens under conservative rule. They don't give a damn about you, and it shows, especially when you compare us to the other countries. And what's worse, we had the highest death toll and the highest number of COVID cases in the entire world, despite having a very small amount of the world's population. We are, in effect, a failed state. We're an abysmal disaster, okay? And the Republicans don't care. They have no shame about it. Mitch McConnell has no shame about it. In fact, he's thrilled because he knows he gets to continue fucking the American people whether or not Donald Trump wins and Republicans keep the Senate. Because he's going to keep fighting to continue fucking us. Because that's who Mitch McConnell is. All right. Disastrous. Okay. Let's move on. Another important story here. S-hole country, Chris? Yeah. Unfortunately, we have become the shithole. There we go. Yeah. I now have BC Boys in my head. I know, right? That's what I was going for. I'm glad my sidebars work. When I was making that. Listen, all y'all, this is sabotage. It is. It is. Just to be clear, Biden and Harris don't care either. You know what? I'm gonna push back against that a little bit. I think there is some sort of humanitarian desire in them to do something, but that, of course, is limited by we have to make sure that we don't go too much into debt, and we got to do a little bit around the margins to help a little bit. But we can't go too far because that's going to be unacceptable to our Republican friends. And so, we can't do too much to have them rely on the state. It's that kind of stuff, right? So, yeah, I'm sure they actually do care as humans, but I think they limit themselves with their view of neoliberalism. America's whacked out on bullshit. Yes, absolutely. All right, let's go to the Purdue story. So there's big news today. Purdue Pharma, the company that makes OxyContin, is planning to plead guilty to federal criminal charges as part of a settlement of more than $8 billion. Now, this is according to the Justice Department and a report from the Associated Press about the settlement. So in this press release, the company will plead guilty to 3 different criminal counts, including conspiracy and violating anti-kickback laws, according to the officials. Furthermore, the deal, it does a lot of things to the company, and as well as making some serious changes to this company, it does not release company executives or owners from any sort of criminal liability. And I think that is relevant and important because right now there's also a criminal investigation going on to the family. So let's get into more detail here. As part of the resolution, Purdue will admit that it impeded the Drug Enforcement Agency by falsely representing that it had maintained an effective program to avoid drug diversion and by reporting misleading information to the agency to boost the company's manufacturing quotas, according to the officials. A Justice Department official also said Purdue had been representing to the DEA that it had, quote-unquote, robust controls to avoid opioid diversion, but instead had been disregarding the red flags to their own systems were sending up. So now you hear the term opioid diversion. What does that actually mean? It basically means that when the legal supply chain of prescription drugs is broken, it results in those drugs being transferred to illicit channels of distribution or usage. So basically, they're admitting to being drug dealers. Well, it's true. That's what they are. This time, they're actually legal drug dealers, though. So now, again, that's got nothing to do with, and I got to stress this, people who legitimately need these drugs for pain management. This is a lot of people that cover this story don't actually talk about those who do use these drugs and do need these drugs just in order to live a normal life. And so free of, or as much as possible free of pain. And so I got to mention that because it is important. And so it is important to be able to have these medications available to people. Okay. That said, right, there are millions of people take these drugs responsibly. They use it to get through their day. And of those people, there's a small amount who do take these drugs irresponsibly, without a prescription, or they do get addicted to them, and some of them overdose. And so there are problems. There's some serious issues, right? So now these companies basically admitted, yeah, well, we allowed these drugs to get diverted to those illicit ends, but we really didn't care because we got paid. We got money. We made a profit. That's it. Their own systems, they ignored, that were set up to warn them about this stuff. Again, they completely ignored them and said, not interested. Not interested. Okay? So now these companies, again, didn't care. Now, on that, Purdue will also admit to violating federal anti-kickback laws by paying doctors through a speaking program to induce them to write more prescriptions for the company's opioids and for using electronic health record software to influence the prescription of pain medications, according to officials. So now there's an issue, of course, of overprescription, influencing doctors to write phony scripts that people don't actually need. And so, yes, those are crimes. Again, there are people who legitimately need these drugs, and they provide a stable market, but it wasn't enough to Purdue. They got greedy. They decided they wanted to chase after even more profit. Of course. Now, as part of the plea deal, the company admitted that it violated federal law and knowingly and intentionally conspired and agreed with others to aid and abet the dispensing of medication from doctors without a legitimate medical purpose and outside the usual course of professional practice, according to a copy of the plea agreement obtained by the Associated Press. Their punishment for this is as follows. Purdue will first make a direct payment to the government of about $225 million, which is part of a larger $2 billion criminal forfeiture. In addition to that, Purdue also faces a $3.54 billion criminal fine, of which they're likely not to pay the whole thing, because a lot of that's going to end up going to creditors that they owe. Purdue will also agree to a $2.8 billion in damages to resolve civil liability. And finally, it would transform into what they call a public benefit company, meaning it would be governed by a trust that is to balance the trust's interest against those of the American public and public health. And so that is interesting. I've never seen that before. But as you're going to see, there's a lot of people that are not happy about this. But first, let's get to the Sackler family. So the Sackler family, of course, owns Purdue Pharma and basically runs it. They got a lot of money off of this. And so what happens to them? Well, the Sacklers would not be involved in this new company. And part of the money from the settlement would go to aid medically assisted treatment and other drug programs to combat the opioid epidemic. And so, look, I don't know really anything else that involves the Sacklers. Right now, no criminal charges against the family. But then again, there is an investigation that is pending about them. Now, the arrangement mirrors a key element of the company's proposal to settle about 3,000 lawsuits filed by state, local, and Native American tribal governments. And so, basically, that's the deal. They pay fines, the company gets handed over, and I guess they get to declare bankruptcy as well. Not exactly the strongest settlement. So now, again, let's go to the people that are not thrilled with this. State attorneys general and Democratic members of Congress and advocates pushed back on this. They wrote a letter to Attorney General William Barr saying that the deal does not hold the Sackler family accountable for this. Quote, if the only practical consequence of your department's investigation is that a handful of billionaires are made slightly less rich, we fear that the American people will lose faith in the ability of the department to provide accountability and equal justice under the law. Now, that was signed by 38 members of the Democratic Party in Congress. Why there were not more Democrats involved, well, I think we know. Pharmaceutical companies actually lobby the Democratic Party extensively. They lobby Congress extensively. And I can almost make a guess of who some of these people are that have signed onto this letter. I can almost hear AOC and Bernie Sanders. I'm not entirely sure, but from the way it's written, I mean, come on. But here's the thing. I'm actually shocked that the Justice Department under Trump did anything. I mean, maybe it's because it's affecting white people in the Midwest. And let's be honest, that's a lot. I mean, that's a big part of the reason, I should say. They really weren't worried when there was drugs in the inner city. No, in fact, what they did when there were drugs in the inner city is that they didn't go after the drug companies, right? They didn't go after the people that introduced crack into those neighborhoods. No, they went in and beefed up law enforcement. In this case, they actually did go after a corporation with a pretty mild punishment. And so, again, I say it's a mild punishment because I would actually do quite a bit more. Now, with that said, the Sackler family pledged to hand over the company itself, plus at least $3 billion to resolve thousands of suits against the company. But the company, not the family, did declare bankruptcy as a way to work around that plan, which could be worth about $10 billion over time. Now, about half the states so far oppose this settlement and wrote Barr to ask him not to make a federal deal that involves converting Purdue into a public benefit corporation. They say that it would be wrong for the government to rely on earnings from the sale of more OxyContin, and they do have a point. So what would I do? I'd nationalize the company and make it not for profit. So, that nice company you got there, it's ours now. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to make it a not-for-profit entity. That's what we're going to do. And I think that, look, all these pharmaceutical companies should operate at least as a not-for-profit entity. I mean, you could keep it private, but it would have to be not-for-profit. Because understand, I think that it's wrong to have a profit motive in healthcare, in medicine. These medicines are to save people's lives, not for you to make a buck off of, and not for you to jack up the price so that people can't afford it, so that you can be highwaymen and say, oh, hey, your money or your life. I don't feel comfortable with that. I know there's some people like, but then what incentive are they going to have to innovate these drugs? For one, not a lot of money that goes into innovation of certain drugs. But at the same time, a lot of public money does go into that through the use of the university system. And so universities are actually some of the biggest places that actually perpetuate real research and development into some of these drugs. And so I feel like it would be better to either nationalize a lot of these companies or at least make sure that they are not-for-profit entities, that they can pay enough, their researchers and staffers to be able to research these drugs, but not be able to make obscene amounts of profit on it. And so there's that. Okay. Now, I also believe that the Sackler family or anybody involved in this should face criminal penalties, criminal prosecution, because these are the people that basically profited off the suffering of hundreds of thousands of Americans. And I understand, and it is important to point out that this drug has OxyContin and fentanyl and some of these other pain management drugs have helped a lot of people as well, right? And it's helped them to manage pain and to try to live, something akin to a normal life. And I understand that. That's why you have to have some of these drugs available and a company out there to actually, be able to manufacture it and distribute it. So that's why, again, I would keep a company around after nationalizing it and making it not for profit. But, it's important to point that out, okay? You've got to make sure that these people have drugs that are available as well and that are well regulated. Obviously, something like that's not going to happen under a Donald Trump administration. It's not going to happen under a Biden-Harris administration either. And I don't see them actually being tough on these corporations as well. But, at least there's something. And I'm very, very surprised to see that there was some sort of, punishment for this company, as meager as it is, $8 billion. Still, it's a lot more than I actually expected. Weirdly enough. That just shows, though, that I've got a real low bar when it comes to the Trump administration. All right. Let me take a quick break here. We've got the Giuliani story coming up next, so you know you're not going to want to miss that. We'll talk about that. And then Pat Robertson says, vote for Trump, get an apocalypse. Fun times. Stay right here. We'll be back around the nation.
It's like a Sharknado, except with poop.
Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
Everybody, welcome back to the show. Around the nation right here. Waldorf Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. All right, so, is there any super chats? No, no super chats here. But, let me go here. Thank you to Trash E-Place for the bits. That's awesome. Thank you for the subscription as well. You are all amazing. So thank you so much for the new members, new subscribers on Twitch, as well as, of course, all the people, awesome people on YouTube and Facebook, which right now I can't seem to check anything on Facebook. So I apologize if there's any supporters on there as well that have signed up. All right, let's move on here. Let's see. Okay. It's not about wrong, just being wrong, ineffective, and destructive. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I'm reading these. Let's see. Most innovation comes from public money. That's true. That's true, which is what I'm saying. The solution is important here. You must be behind on the stream. That's probably what it is. Koru, for some reason you can't find a super chat. True. Unfortunate. Let's see. Couple comments here. In West Virginia alone, Purdue dispensed 3 million pills in a town of less than 5,000. Yes. And we know why. All right. Over 500 viewers. I wish. We were at about 500 viewers. Lost a few in the last story because I guess some people didn't find it as interesting. But that's okay. We'll get to the Giuliani story. We know that's what you really want. We know. Do you change the name after taking it over? Yes. Yes, you do. All right. Moving on here. President Donald Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, got himself into a little bit of a compromising situation, thanks to comedian Sacha Baron Cohen. So now, according to The Guardian, which has seen footage of Cohen's movie. So Cohen made a movie, Borat 2, okay, or the second Borat, whatever, which is apparently going to be very entertaining, that somehow Rudy Giuliani found himself in. Okay, so now the former New York mayor and current personal attorney Donald Trump, in this movie, which he didn't know he was going to be in, I think that's really important, he is seen reaching into his trousers and apparently touching his genitals while reclining on a bed in the presence of an actor playing Borat's alleged teen daughter. The actress in question, by the way, is a 24-year-old Bulgarian native Maria Bakalova. She had posed as a right-wing journalist interested in interviewing Giuliani to ask him about his work for President Trump. And by the way, she was posing actually as a 15-year-old, a teenager, posing as a right-wing journalist in order to interview Giuliani. It gets a little weird, but again, that's Borat for you, as well as Giuliani, apparently. And so now, following the interview, Bakalova asked Giuliani to come to her hotel room for a drink. That hotel room, of course, is full of cameras, catching Giuliani with his hands down his pants. There are pictures. I'm not going to show those pictures because I don't want to, first of all, I don't want to destroy the mental health of most of my audience. And number two, it could be TOS. So I don't know. I didn't want to take a chance on it being TOS. But if you really, really want to see the pictures, they're on the internet. They're basically everywhere, all over Twitter. So you can see it. Okay. So now, according to The Guardian's account, Cohen's character then bursts into the room wearing some very interesting stuff and tells him that she's only 15 years old and thus is, quote, too old for you. Oh, my goodness. All right, so if you believe that 2020 could not get more insane, well, now we've got a Borat movie. And so here it is. The mental image of Rudy Giuliani playing with himself is almost, it's like the perfect little cap to like the shittiest year on record, 2020. There's more, by the way. So Giuliani talked about this before. Word of the incident actually first emerged back in July. So now Giuliani ended up calling the police to report the intrusion of what he called an unusually dressed man. Quote, this guy comes running in wearing a crazy, what I would say was a pink transgender outfit. It's a very strange way to describe it. Giuliani told the New York Post. It was a pink bikini with lace underneath and a translucent mesh top. It's really interesting how you can recall all the details of what this guy's wearing. Okay. It looked absurd. He had the beard, bare legs, and wasn't what I would call distractingly attractive. Okay. All right. He continues. He says, this person comes in yelling and screaming, and I thought this must be a scam or a shakedown. So I reported it to the police. He then ran away. The police found no crime had been committed. Yep. Giuliani continued by saying, I only later realized it must have been Sacha Baron Cohen, and I thought about all the people he previously fooled, and it felt good about myself because he didn't fool me. He didn't get me. Yeah, you did. You look on the news. He got you. You got Jeffrey Toobin. Okay. Yes, that's a thing now. I've made that up. That's a saying now, Jeffrey Toobin. It's also noted, by the way, that even before he reached into his trousers, Giuliani didn't exactly acquit himself impressively during the encounter. In fact, according to The Guardian's viewing, Flattered and flirtatious, Giuliani drinks scotch, coughs, fails to socially distance, and claims that Trump's speedy actions in the spring saved 1 million Americans from dying from COVID. He also agrees, in theory, to eat a bat with his interviewer. Okay. All right. Dude had no idea what was going on. Like, come on, dude. I can almost guarantee. Again, this is a man who has, like, butt dialed reporters before. Giuliani has got no idea what he's doing. You think he's like, oh, no, Sacha Baron Cohen, I was totally onto that guy. Oh, I knew I was going to get scammed. No, dude. No. The guy's a moron. There's no way he knew. How utterly embarrassing. Dude got. All right. So now, I just want to read some social media reaction because I enjoy this. One person points out, falling for Borat in the year of 2020 does not reflect well on your ability to uncover and discern factual material in other contexts. That's important because his so-called October surprise was like Hunter Biden emails in the laptops. Okay. All right. Another person says, don't agree to an interview with Borat. And if you do, don't fondle yourself in front of someone who says she's 15. Should have been something all public figures learned a decade ago. Now, look, she is 24, to be fair. But she is posing as a 15-year-old, posing as a right-wing journalist. I don't know how much he knew. Probably not a lot because it's Rudy Giuliani. Don't just say it. Another person points out, I don't think anyone had Borat returns and catches Rudy Giuliani touching himself in their 2020 bingo card. This year just won't quit. Well, you're absolutely right about that. Another person says, there's probably a 75% chance Borat gets mentioned in the debate. Legend. It is pretty funny how Sacha Baron Cohen has this ability to get right-wingers to say and do stupid things. Got to give him credit for that. It's pretty good. And finally, Maureen Dowd actually spelled it out the best when she just called this entire thing, quote, beyond cringe. Nailed it, Maureen. Nailed it. All right, anyway. Moving on here. One last story for you guys, and that is Uncle Pat making the best argument to vote for Donald Trump. All right. Why is Trump so obsessed with emails? He's trying to replay the Hillary Clinton thing. Of course. All right. Televangelist Pat Robertson is claiming that God gave him a vision of the future. A future of what happens if you vote for Donald Trump. Take a look.
Mr. President, just to follow up on what Brian's asking, though, after that first debate...
That's really strange because that video is the wrong video. So let's...
There are many who suggested if you just let Joe Biden share his ideas...
Fail. All right. Oh, that's weird. Do I not have the video ready? No, I do.
Going to be a war. Ezekiel 38 is going to be the next thing down the line, then a time of peace, then maybe the end. But nobody knows the day or the hour when the Lord's going to come back. He said the angels don't know it, and only the Father knows it. So I'm not saying this is the second coming, but I am saying there are things that people have thought would be during a millennial time with the coming of Jesus that are going to happen in our lifetime. And the next thing is the election that's coming up in just a few weeks, at which time, according to what I believe the Lord told me, the president is going to be reelected. I'm saying by all means, get out and vote for whoever you want to vote for, but by all means, let your voice be heard. but it's going to lead to civil unrest of a great proportion, then a war against Israel and so forth and so on.
All right, so that was a lot there. Okay, I think Donald Trump's going to win the election, and then all this terrible stuff is going to happen. Get out there and vote, kids. Message from Uncle Pat Robertson. Wow, all of that sounds absolutely fantastic. Pat? No, it actually sounds horrible. If anything, you're kind of making the case against voting for Donald Trump. I mean, there's no way you can look at that and be like, trials and tribulations, massive unrest after Donald Trump gets reelected. Great. Sign me up for that. No. But understand, like, if you're a normal person, then yeah, you're going to be like, this is ridiculous. But understand who Pat Robertson is talking about. Or I should say talking to. He's not talking to normal people. He thinks, oh no, this stuff's great. And the people that he's talking to also believe that this entire thing is awesome. And that the end of the world coming is exactly the reason why you should vote for Trump. And it's because they believe in insane things. I've talked about this before. They love the idea of the end times. There's a bunch of Trump supporting supposed Christians that all they care about is bringing forth the end of the world, the literal end of the world. Now, they think that, oh, well, we're not going to be affected. We're going to get hoovered up into heaven by Jesus, and the rest of the world is going to have to suffer because Jesus blows up the world. And understand that they're not looking at that as a bad thing. They're looking at it as a good thing. They like it. They want it. And understand, too, that this is why you can't talk to those people. I mean, you can't bring up issues like, hey, what about climate change? Maybe we should do something about it. I mean, you're not going to care about climate change if you think Jesus is going to hoover you up into heaven, right? And God's coming back to fuck up the world. Who cares? Like, climate change? Why am I going to be worried about that? Who cares about solving actual problems? Jesus is going to suck us up. So, who cares? And by the way, all of us, doesn't actually mean all of us. Apparently, only several thousand people allegedly make it. I think there's like a specific number of people that are supposed to get sucked up into heaven, which is really small. So like 99% of the world dies. And there are people that want this to happen. They want this to happen. Okay? And this is the supreme irony. They're actually pointing at Donald Trump and saying, at least, Pat Robertson is like, yeah, he's the catalyst. So wait. That would only mean, I mean, there's really only one way you could interpret that. That Donald Trump is not the Messiah, but he's the Antichrist. Again, I don't believe in any of this. This is all insanity to me. But judging from their own scriptures, the own things that they believe in, okay, that would not point to Donald Trump being somebody good if he's ushering in the end times. No, that would mean Donald Trump would be the literal Antichrist. I mean, again, this is somebody who is supposed to be charismatic, has a large following, becomes a leader, becomes very powerful, gets millions of people into a thrall with, outrageous lies. I mean, who else would you think of? Okay, who else does that sound like? Is Pat Robertson literally calling Donald Trump the Antichrist unironically? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's too dumb to realize what he's doing. But, I mean, insanity. Total insanity. That said, I want to read a couple of responses from social media because I always love doing this, right? One person says the most ludicrous thing about modern Christianity is the idea that an all-powerful being spends its time sending status updates to the crypt keeper like this guy. Another person says, Pat Robertson says God told him Trump will win re-election and bring the end times. Well, I mean, that's your clear election choice right there. Big difference between the two candidates. Yeah, well, if you believe in that stuff, that's a good point. Another one says a vote for Trump is a vote for the apocalypse. Pat Robertson says so. Very true. And then one person asks, why God repeatedly lies to Pat Robertson, I will never understand. To which God replied, nothing has given me more consistent pleasure over the last half century than saying stupid shit to Pat Robertson. And by the way, that is God on Twitter at the tweet of God. So obviously, it's an authoritative source. All right. Anyway. That was a quick show. That's all I got for you today, though. So, man, that was a fast show. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I know a couple of you didn't. Make sure to leave me many comments and all that stuff. Just blow that feed up. That's great. And by the way, share it to all your angry friends, too. Because I'm sure they will love to come in and leave their comments as well. Really drive up that traffic. I mean, yeah, really come after me because I'm being a libtard. Exactly. All right. Anyway. All right. Thank you all. Please like and subscribe. Share. Thank you for all the subscriptions and bits and stuff on Twitch and all the support, of course, on YouTube. Again, go and like and share these clips that I put out later on. All over different social media outlets. Let me see. Facebook. Not a lot going on Facebook, unfortunately. But that's okay. Congratulations for becoming an affiliate. Thank you. Appreciate that. And thank you. Time flies when you're a blight to society. True. Very true. Yes. Help Waldorf Nation own the libs. Yes. Absolutely. Okay. Prove you think the IMF, EU, and US should meddle in the foreign courts. I don't remember making that argument. So, all right. That's it. We'll see you guys on Friday. So remember, no show tomorrow. We'll be back on Friday. Another great show. So tune in then, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here, Waldorf Nation. Love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. We'll see you later.
Why? You're getting nervous, man.
Mike Pounds.
I will eat your ass.
Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
Wet ass keyword.
Silent.
Please clap.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.